led me to places where the lines between want and need blur into a single, intoxicating pull. Tonight, I will take you to a place where the air is charged with the heat of exertion, the scent of sweat mingling with a tantalizing promise, a place where unspoken temptations simmer just beneath the surface. The gym was dimly lit, the soft hum of machines and the rhythmic thud of weights filling the air. It was late, and only a few dedicated souls remained, pushing their limits in the quiet solitude of the night. I was there too, my body moving through the familiar motions of my routine, each stretch and flex a soothing balm to my restless mind. But tonight, my focus was elsewhere, drawn, inexplicably, to him. I had seen him before, his presence a constant, silent force in this place, but our paths had never crossed beyond fleeting glances and brief nods of acknowledgement. He was always there, always focused, his body a testament to strength and discipline. And yet, there was something else, something that set him apart. Tonight, I felt it more strongly than ever, a magnetic pull that seemed to draw me toward him, my eyes following his every movement as he moved through his own routine. His shirt clung to his skin, damp with sweat, highlighting the powerful lines of his muscles as he lifted the weights with an ease that spoke of practiced control. I could see the concentration etched on his face, the way his jaw tightened with each rep, and it sent a shiver of awareness through me. I tried to focus on my own workout, on the steady rhythm of my breaths, the feel of my muscles stretching and contracting, but it was impossible. My eyes were drawn back to him again and again until he finally looked up, his gaze meeting mine across the room. It was a fleeting moment, just a heartbeat, but in that instant, the world around us seemed to still. His eyes were a deep, piercing blue, and they held mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. There was something there, something dark and smoldering, and it felt as if he was seeing straight through me, stripping away the layers I had carefully built around myself. My heart raced, a wild, frantic beat that echoed through my body, and I had to force myself to look away, to break the spell. But it was too late. The connection had been made, the spark ignited, and I could feel the heat of his gaze on me, even as I turned back to my own routine. My skin tingled, the air around me charged with a tension that was almost palpable. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, to regain control, but it was no use. I could still feel him, still sense his presence, as if he was standing right behind me, his breath warm against my neck. I finished my set, the familiar burn of exertion grounding me, but it did nothing to quell the restless energy coiling inside me. I glanced over my shoulder, and there he was, still watching me, his eyes dark with something I couldn't quite name. Desire, yes, but also curiosity, a hunger that seemed to match the one rising inside me. I turned, my movements slow and deliberate, feeling his gaze follow me as I walked towards the stretch area. I could feel my pulse quicken, each step sending a jolt of anticipation through me. I was aware of him, of the way his body moved as he followed, his presence a solid, comforting weight behind me. I knelt down, the cool mat beneath me, a stark contrast to the heat building in my veins, and began to stretch, my body moving through the familiar motions with a fluid grace. But my focus wasn't on the stretch. It was on him, on the way his eyes lingered on me, the way his breath hitched as I arched my back, my body a slow, deliberate invitation. I felt his presence close behind me, and then his voice, low and rough, cutting through the quiet. "May I join you?" The question was simple, polite, but there was an undercurrent of something darker, something that sent a thrill through me. I looked up, meeting his gaze, and nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. He knelt beside me, his movements fluid and controlled, his proximity sending a shiver of awareness through me. I could feel the heat of his body, the faint scent of sweat and something else, something intoxicating, filling my senses. We moved together, our bodies mirroring each other, the silence between us thick with unspoken words. His hand brushed against mine, a fleeting touch that sent a jolt of electricity through me. I looked up, my breath catching as I saw the intensity in his gaze, the way his eyes darkened with something primal, something raw. The air around us seemed to thicken, the tension between us crackling like a live wire. I shifted, turning towards him, and his hand came up to cup my cheek, his touch light but possessive. "I've seen you before," he murmured, his voice low and intimate, always so focused, so in control. His words, spoken so softly, sent a shiver through me. "And now?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. "What do you see now?" He leaned in, his breath warm against my skin. "Now, I see someone who wants to let go." I leaned into him, my hands resting on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my fingertips. His skin was warm, his muscles taut under my touch, and I could feel the tension coiling between us, pulling us closer, inch by tantalizing inch. "Show me," I whispered, my voice trembling with anticipation. "Show me how to let go." His eyes darkened, his grip tightening on my waist as he pulled me closer, his body pressing against mine. I could feel the hard lines of him, the way his muscles flexed as he held me, and the sensation was intoxicating. He leaned in, his lips brushing against my ear, and I shivered, my breath catching in my throat. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice a low, rough whisper that sent a shiver of anticipation through me. "Yes," I breathed, my hands sliding up to tangle in his hair, pulling him closer. "Yes." He kissed me then, a hard, demanding kiss that took my breath away. I gasped, my body arching against his, my hands clutching at his shoulders as I lost myself in the feel of his mouth on mine. His kiss was fierce, almost desperate, as if he was trying to pour all the longing, all the desire he had felt into that one moment. I matched his intensity, my body responding to his every touch, every movement. His hands slid down, gripping my hips, pulling me against him, and I moaned, the sound swallowed by his kiss. I could feel the heat of him, the strength in his grip, and the sensation was overwhelming, a tidal wave of pleasure that threatened to drown me. He broke the kiss, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his eyes dark with desire as he looked down at me. "You have no idea how long I've wanted this," he murmured, his voice rough with emotion. "Then don't wait," I whispered, my hands sliding down to rest on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart beneath my fingertips. "I'm here." He moved then, his hands sliding under my shirt, his touch hot against my skin. I shivered, my breath catching as he pushed the fabric up, his eyes darkening as he looked down at me, his gaze filled with something fierce and possessive. He leaned down, his lips brushing against my skin, a soft, almost reverent kiss that sent a shiver of pleasure through me. His hands were everywhere, touching, exploring, worshipping, as if he was memorizing every inch of me. I arched against him, my body trembling with need, and he responded with a low, guttural moan that made my heart race. As he finally slid into me, it was with a deliberate slowness that left me breathless, each inch of him sending a ripple of sensation through my body. I let out a soft cry, my fingers digging into his shoulders, feeling the exquisite stretch as he filled me completely. His movements were measured, his gaze never leaving mine, and I could see the hunger, the need, burning in his eyes, mirroring the longing that throbbed through every part of me. We began to move in unison, our bodies sinking effortlessly in a rhythm that felt both unfamiliar and beautifully intimate, like two dancers finding the perfect beat. Each thrust, each caress, sent a cascade of pleasure rippling through me, building with an intensity that made my breath catch. The sensation grew, wave after wave crashing over me, until I was trembling, teetering on the brink of a release that promised to shatter me completely. His name slipped from my lips, a soft, breathless plea, and he responded with a low, rough groan that sent a shiver of pleasure through me. His hands tightened on my hips, his movements growing more urgent, more demanding. I felt the tension coil tighter and tighter inside me, the pleasure building to an unbearable peak. He was relentless, his body moving against mine with a fierce, desperate need, each thrust sending shockwaves of ecstasy through me. I was lost in him, in the feel of his body against mine, the way he filled me, the way he looked at me, as if I were the only thing that mattered in the world. I could see the strain in his eyes, the way his jaw clenched as he fought to hold back, and it sent a thrill through me. Knowing that I was the one unraveling him, the one driving him to the edge. "Seraphina," he gasped, his voice rough and broken, his hands sliding up to cup my face as he leaned down, his forehead resting against mine. "I can't. Hold on." His words were a plea, a confession, and I felt my heart swell, the love and desire I felt for him surging through me. I arched against him, my hands clutching at his shoulders, as I surrendered to the pleasure, the intensity of it almost too much to bear. "Let go," I whispered, my voice a soft, breathless plea. "Don't hold back, I'm here." He groaned, his grip tightening on my hips as he moved faster, his body trembling with the effort of holding on. I could feel the tension in him, the way his muscles strained, and I knew he was close, so close. And then, with a final deep thrust, I shattered, the pleasure exploding through me in a blinding wave that left me gasping, my body arching against his. He followed me over the edge, his release a powerful, shuddering climax that left us both breathless and trembling. For a long moment we lay there, our bodies tangled together, our breaths mingling in the quiet aftermath. He kissed my forehead, a soft, lingering kiss that sent a shiver of warmth through me. "You're amazing," he whispered, his voice filled with so much emotion that it made my heart ache. "I've never felt anything like this." I smiled, my hand resting against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my fingertips. "Neither have I murmured, my voice soft and sincere. It was, but I couldn't find the words to finish. It was everything, intense, beautiful, overwhelming, and it left me feeling raw and exposed, yet strangely complete. I looked up at him, my heart in my eyes, and saw the same emotions reflected in his gaze. We lay there for a while longer, wrapped in each other's arms, the world around us fading into the background. There was no need for words, no need for anything but the quiet beat of our hearts and the warmth of our bodies entwined. Eventually, the world began to intrude, sounds of the gym growing louder, reminding us where we were. He shifted, his arms tightening around me, his lips brushing against my forehead in a tender, lingering kiss. "We should," he began, but I silenced him with a gentle finger pressed against his lips. "Let's just stay here," I whispered, my voice soft and pleading. "Just a little longer." He smiled, a slow, beautiful smile that lit up his face, and nodded. "Okay," he murmured, his arms tightening around me as he pulled me closer. "Just a little longer." And in that moment, there was no past, no future, only the present, only us, and the memory of a night that would stay with me forever. Have you ever shared a connection so intense it felt as if the world outside ceased to exist? Share your thoughts and experiences, and let's explore the depths of emotion together.